Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, February 20th, 2019. My name's Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. I'm really glad I'm a hot drink person because it is 10 degrees below zero. It was 11 when I got up, maybe even 12 below. It was cold. I don't like it being that cold. It's too cold. I think zero should be the lower boundary. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love living here. I love Vermont, I love New England, I love living in the Northeast. Except when it's 10 degrees below zero, because that sucks. It's too cold. Yesterday it was only 2 below, and I had to bring stuff out to the compost and run some things out to the warehouse, and I was wearing inadequate gloves for that short trip. My hands got numb. I had to come back in, warm them up, and put on different gloves. So, yeah, so you guys are doing a better job asking questions. I appreciate that. There's a core group of you sending me questions by email and commenting on the posts here. So awesome. Thank you. Keep that coming. If you listen as audio, if you're not catching these live, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com, and just use the subject first cup. And just give me a comment or a question or something. The show's more fun for me if I get to respond to your questions. So the question that I'm responding to today was around books. And do I have any favorite books, martial arts or otherwise? And I'm going to be honest. So I grew up reading a ton. I mean, just so many books. And then I got to high school. And in high school, they said, okay, cool, read these books. And that didn't really work well for me. Kind of destroyed my desire to read. And then I went to college, and it got worse. So I'm going to be honest, from probably the 10, 15 years, well, let's see, I graduated in 2001. There were probably 15 years there where I barely read any books. I'm going to circle back around and tell you about the books that I did read because they're relevant to this question. But last year, maybe even 2 years ago, shortly after I did the interview, the martial arts radio interview with Master Gordon White, he shared with me some Taekwondo history that I found fascinating. But I didn't feel like reading it on my phone or on my computer, and I found out that if I bought a Kindle, I could load those documents on there and read it there. So I did, and I went, wait a second, this is kind of like reading a book. And I started to read again. And now, most nights before I go to bed, I read for somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes, and it settles my mind. I just reread the original Jurassic Park, and I had never read the sequel, The Lost World, which is infinitely better than the movie. The Jurassic Park, the first movie, does a great job. The second movie, but the second book is phenomenal. Maybe even better than the first book. But books that have been impactful for me, there are really two. One is a martial arts book, the other is not. The martial arts book, I believe, is the only book that we've done a martial arts radio episode on, and it's Zen and the Martial Arts by Joe Hyams. The author has passed away, but I just remember reading that book so many times as a kid. And what I loved about it is that it was simple enough for me as a child to read and understand, but now reading it as an adult, there's so much more there. There's so much depth to the writing. What I thought was approachable about it as a kid is that it was short. Honestly, it was, sat in our bathroom most of the time. But there are so many lessons. And when I look through that book now, I realize how much of my view on life and the martial arts were formed from reading that book. It's really fascinating to me. And then the other book that's had a tremendous impact on me, and I had a friend really encourage me to read this years ago. And actually, I think it was my first audiobook, From Good to Great. Actually, not from, just Good to Great by Jim Collins. and it's a phenomenal book. I don't know that I've ever read it in paper, but I've listened to it as an audiobook so many times. And it's a business book. But if you look closely at it, it's a lot more than a business book. It's a book about so much. It's a book about how to deal with people and life. And the author reads it himself, and it's really pretty cool in that way. And when I think about the book that I'm working on right now, honestly, that's probably the biggest inspiration because of the way he presents the information and the way he makes it accessible but entertaining. Because if someone doesn't enjoy reading a book, what's the point? So, there you go. Books. We've done a number of posts on Martial Arts Radio regarding books. Yeah, there's one. It's like the top 10 books recommended by Martial Arts Radio guests, and then I think we're in the midst of updating that post. But when guests come on the show and they talk about books, I try to link to those books. Sometimes, that their memory of the title of the book and the author is off enough that we don't find it, but usually it's pretty easy. And we link to Amazon, but only because Amazon's the place everybody buys books. We don't get any commission. There's no kickback. In fact, that commission program Amazon has doesn't even work in Vermont. So now, what else can I tell you? I had a very strange day yesterday. So some of you may remember I wasn't feeling well on Sunday, and I got work done. It was cold. I had nothing to do. I didn't want to go out. And I said, all right, if I'm going to just sit here and be bored, I'm going to sit here and do work. And I looked through my week and I grabbed every small task that I could and pulled it forward and hammered work out. And that meant that yesterday I was done about 2 p.m. It was weird. Was there more I could have done? Yeah. But I decided that since I was still coming off of being sick, I would just chill out, clean the house, and did some chores. I mean, I didn't, sit there and do nothing, but I cut my hair, and I trimmed my beard, and just kind of enjoyed not having to do too much. It was kind of nice. And honestly, that's something I struggle with. I really have a hard time not being productive 16 hours a day. If I'm not sleeping, I want to be doing something. And that's tough. It's tough because I can't be productive that many hours a day. For me, it seems to be about 30 hours, 6-hour days. And I've even read some studies that suggest that that's kind of where productivity efficiency drops off. Unfortunately, I've got a team now. I've got people that help me with a lot of the things that they can. Because otherwise, I would just go nuts at this point. And I think you can say the same thing about martial arts training. I think there's a point where you end up at a diminishing rate of return. And I love to train. And I don't get the hours to train that I would like to, but I'm on training smart. I've got a wave bag that I bought used over there, and I don't sit down for, hour-long sessions with it. But there are specific things that I'm working on regarding kickboxing, the Superfoot system, kickboxing stuff, and it right there means that I can just, throw in a couple minutes a day working on some of the things with accuracy, and right now I'm working on some footwork. And it means that when I go to train with Terry and Paul, I get more out of those sessions. So that's been really helpful. And I guess from all that, my suggestion to others might be honest with yourself about who you are and how you work best. I think a lot of us, especially those of us that are we're really pushing the envelope in terms of being productive or starting a business or whatever. We often say, I should be able to, or I should, or I really have to, or whatever. And I don't think that's a good way to look at it, because that ignores who you are. Did I feel guilty for finishing work at 2 o'clock yesterday? No, because I did what I shouldn't have done, and I spent another hour just kind of twiddling my thumbs, feeling like I should work. And eventually I said, this is stupid. You're the only one judging you on how much work you're getting done. So I said, you know what, fine. I'm going to relax. Because you know what? That relaxing makes me more productive today. So consider that. All right. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, we do these every 6:30. I gotta change that language. We do these every weekday on YouTube at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. You can find this as audio pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. Don't forget Martial Arts Radio, and that's what we got. Thanks for watching, listening. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you back here tomorrow.